that the tension has gone down. And another curious, pleasant development is that people are conceding result. The losers are conceding more than what was even before the final, which is really annoying to lawyers because lawyers have spent a lot of time, Yvonne, preparing. Personally, I was among the lawyers selected by the Law Society of Kenya to equip fellow advocates, and we went through the country, you know, Meru, Eldoret, Kisumu, Mombasa, trying to equip fellow lawyers to handle election petitions, and I personally was prepared to handle quite a few. But it does look like we will not have work to do. It's a good thing.
So with every concession,
yes.
Say,
but to answer the question, if you look at the provision of Article 81 of the Constitution, that now sets the threshold for assessment of the manner in which the election has been managed, it then explains the detailed and intricate manner in which the result verification process is undertaken. Section 81 of the Constitution has been fleshed out partly in Section 138, in Article 138 rather, sub-Article 4 of the Constitution, which says, to be declared the winner in a presidential election, you need to satisfy the twin requirement of 50% plus 1 votes, you know, 50% of the total votes cast plus 1. And at least 25% in more than half of the counties, which means 25% of the votes cast in 24 counties.
Or more,
Now, if you look at that framework, how that framework has been articulated or broken down, to the viewers need to understand the process leading to the determination of 50% plus 1 vote is a very laborious and complex process. It has been fleshed out in the Election General Regulations 2012 in 2 provisions. Section 39(1)(c), which is in the Elections Act, which then provides the mechanism for electronic transmission of results. And we said yesterday night that the mechanism for electronic transmission of results was part of the innovations under the new Constitution designed to improve transparency and accountability. And we were celebrating the projections we see today in the media as part of the architecture and design of our Constitution that then helps us also to manage the expectation. But Section 39(1)(c) that says that results must be transmitted electronically via text messages and the scanned PDF forms from 34As and then physically delivered must be read together with Regulation 87. And I think I need our focus now to shift to Regulation 87 of Election General Regulations. You know, Kenyans watch this thing, but they don't know that there's a legal underpinning. It's all easy to just talk about, announce now, but everything we do has a legal underpinning. If you look at Regulation 87, it provides a very intricate detail. It says that the National Returning Officer, in this case the chairman of the commission, must verify the votes transmitted electronically with the actual Form 34As. And that's why, whereas the media has the liberty to project the figures we've seen now, the commission does not have that kind of liberty. They cannot make announcements until the returning officers have physically delivered at Bomas both the hard copies and the electronic version. There was an incident in 2017, and the Supreme Court was not very kind to IBC because IBC seemed to have given up on electronic transmission when they said that 3G network failed in some areas. And I remember Senior Counsel Otienda Molo canvassed that question very aggressively, and they said there cannot be an excuse for failing to transmit results electronically. And the Supreme Court said we must ensure that we comply with the twin aspect, transmit electronically and then deliver physically. I think now, yes, we've done an excellent job in electronic transmission. Very little incidences, but we have to wait for the verification. No, for the arrival of Form 34As, then we do the verification. We highlighted yesterday night that it is not as simple as Nairobi is within Nairobi County is just less than 7 kilometers away. Nyayo Stadium
Yes.
is less than 7 kilometers away to Bomas,
Yes.
and therefore we can't understand why the delay. Remember,
Yeah.
Nairobi has so many voters, actually the highest number of voters.
Yes.
And therefore it has very small in size, but it has the highest number of polling stations. And we said each polling station with a potential of 700 voters
Yeah.
per polling station, and you're casting the same ballot 6 times. As in you're casting,
yeah.
every voter is casting 6 ballots.
Right.
It means that the counting of 700 ballots in every ballot box happens 6 times.
Yes.
And with every count, there are 2 opportunities for a recount. So then you
So
can
all of
understand
that
the
has
delay.
to be exhausted.
So when all this is said and done,
Yes.
bottom line is this. I think it makes sense to exercise a little bit of more patience, because patience is what the Constitution has ordained under Article 138 of Article 10.
Yeah.
IBC has up to 7 days.
Yes.
We had the election on Tuesday.
He has up to Tuesday, Wednesday.
He has up to Tuesday, Wednesday next week. And I think looking at the results that have come in terms of Form 34Bs,
Yeah.
we are looking at a final announcement probably on Saturday or even on Sunday.
Okay. So that's an interesting understanding that I think we all need to have, and sometimes it bears, repeating. Joshua, just, a very quick comment from you, because I also want to take a look at what's happening at Bomas, and our Higa Maura is there, from where we can probably get a clearer update. So this is a long wait, and one that we must be patient with, right?
Now, I just want to pick from where he left.
Yeah.
And I want to make Kenyans understand that long conversation we've had about why we're here. We are coming from a position of serious apprehension
Yeah.
about the time it takes to vote and get the result on one particular ticket, presidential ticket.
Right.
So that is the big deal. So the gulf of apprehension and distrust and mistrust is so significant. Why do you think if you go to social media, you can't get the true picture? Because we have extremism on both sides. Each side has actually declared and has actually fed the public an expectation, so that anything less gives rise to that expectation that maybe there's a monkey game happening somewhere. So if you look at our journey from 2010, this process begins post 2007.
Yeah.
In 2007, if there was one mistake that happened that generated what my senior has spoken about, electronic tallying, at the same time bringing physically. If you remember historically what happened in 2007, where the ECK chair spoke and said, I can't trace my returning officer.
Yes.
I was with him on call, then he disappeared.
Yeah.
Number 2,
Right.
it was easier to deliver results from Turkana than Kabete in 2007. So the question was, what is so
Why?
unique about Kabete, which is 5 or 6 kilometers away?
Right.
So because of that, now you understand the apprehension and everything. And that's why post-Kriegler Commission, there was the idea of an independent commission, but importantly, there was the idea of employing tech and try to digitize everything.
Yeah.
2013 was a failure because our BVR failed. So we failed at the first stop. We needed to identify voters electronically. That failed. We abandoned it. We went fully manual. And out of it, the Supreme Court decision of 2013, if you remember the dispute in 2013, CORD raised it on the basis of that the systems were deliberately failed. Number 2, when we resorted to manual, we did what we did previously, delivering results physically. 2017 was a clear step up. And look at the impact of 2013. The political class came out and decided we have to throw out the same team, because the politicians operate like sharks. When they smell blood, they go for it. And for them is, this team has failed, let them go home. We need another team. And 2017, a new team came in and said, now we want to see how you can do. The same problem arose again, but not as significant as 2013.
Right.
So the question now moved away from identifying voters, it went to transmission of results. And when the elections were nullified in 2017, it put fuel into fire. So what happened? Remember the Maina K case that came now, they wanted to seek clarity.
Right.
And that is exactly what my senior has explained. So I don't need to go to the details what he's explained. So I need Kenyans to understand the basis, the philosophy behind this long, tedious process. In fact, as I was here yesterday night, I actually made the comment and said, Chebukati has won on this. He's actually made the public not blame IBC. They are doing perfectly well. They have 7 days. I think they have done 3 days. They still have 4 days.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, you've done a good job of explaining the
Correct.
the legal,
Correct.
but also the political, and that is important for us to understand, Joshua. So, Prof, what are we to do? Because all of these explanations notwithstanding, we've had Joshua here before and Susan, who were here last night with Steve, and we talk about the same thing, and yet we are still anxious.
Yeah, well, I think the next law that we're going to enact is to deal with anxiety. Yeah, we'll have to say that.
Yeah, sure.
That we shall not be
Yes.
anxious in between. Yeah, but I think generally the feeling of the public, especially given what IBC has done so far, is that of confidence. Really, generally, I think people are not too anxious, especially on these electronic bits that, you know, you are able to access the results, you're able to do your tallying and so on. And of course, Chebukati constantly makes reference to it. Yeah, but I think what is interesting, and this will be particularly interesting, you know, with the speed at which IBC is uploading the Form 34Bs, because it means that, I mean, if they continue, they've already done 152.
Yeah.
They're at 53 or